Hi, I'm Hall Davidson, and welcome back to KOCE TV's series on copyright for educators. All the resources you see here are available online at copyrighteducation.org and copyrighteducation.info. We're going to be talking about the Internet and the World Wide Web and what you can legally do following copyright law and guidelines and what you can't do. Places dedicated to face-to-face instruction are wonderful places under the Copyright Act, and that means classrooms. But when you move out of the classroom onto the World Wide Web, things change, as we'll see. We're going to talk about three things: web pages for instruction, using a web page in a classroom, downloading material for instruction, and uploading material for instruction. So first, let's talk about using the web itself as a teaching resources, or more accurately, websites or web pages. Can you use, for example, CNN.com in a classroom? This is a commercial site. Can you use it with your class? Or can you use the CIA World Factbook, which has great information? Can you teach with this material? The Wikipedia is online. Can you use it for instruction in your classroom? The answer for all of these sites, and literally millions more, is absolutely yes. There is media online too. Google Earth is a fantastic resource. The Discovery Channel has a video layer on Google Earth, so you can go to a place and watch videos. Use it. PBS has streaming video online. Use it. These materials are out there for public use. They are copyrighted, but their use in a classroom would be allowed under fair use or under Section 110 of the Copyright Act. But also, it is the nature of sites open to the public to be used by the public. Now, could you take all these materials and create a new product with it? No. Free to use definitely does not mean free to repurpose, but that would defeat the whole point of using these great resources for immediate instruction. And be careful. Not every slide has material appropriate for your classroom. Just because you can use it doesn't mean you should. Legally correct does not always mean appropriate for your students. Some districts block sites, in fact, that teachers could use, not because of copyright issues, but because of content issues. Now, this is a different topic altogether. The web is rich in resources. Use it, but use it wisely. A lot of teachers have built up ways to share with each other the Internet and websites that they use. Grade Level Gold from the Saddleback Valley Unified School District is a great resource for that. Okay, now let's talk about downloading. Downloading video, music, photos, text, and other material from the web is technically possible. A right click or a copy and paste is often all you need to do. So it's technically possible to download images, videos, and sounds from the web. Can you use these for face-to-face instruction? Well, the simple answer is yes. This is part of fair use, so now the same rules for fair use apply. One, the downloaded material has to be legally acquired. You can't download stuff from bootleg sites or material that's not really up on the web in a legal way in the first place. Two, you have to use it for instruction. You also have to give citations. So remember also to be appropriate with your use of downloads. Legally correct does not always mean appropriate. The other thing to be wary of is sites that say they have copyright-free material that really belongs to someone else. I've seen Calvin and Hobbes on some sites that say they're free cartoons. Well, I know that's a copyrighted feature, so that's probably not a good website. Just be smart about that. There are popular sites out there that offer downloads for education, and those are good sites. PBS Teacher Source is one. There's material there. Use it. Discovery School from Kathy Schrock has done great work, and it gets 1 million visitors a day. Kitsu was created by KOCE and the Orange County Department of Ed, and it also has great materials for teachers to download. There are also great music sites for teachers, and we'll talk about those in a different segment. Material openly available on the Internet is commonly permissible to use in a classroom environment. Now, openly available means that you haven't had to use a password. There are many good services like BrainPop, Atomic Learning, or United Streaming that require subscriptions to use. And I must tell you, if your subscription lapses, then you can no longer use the materials you downloaded when you were a member. It's as if you were a member of a golf club and your subscription lapses, your membership, lapses. Well, you can't continue to play the course just because you used to be a member. Remember, if you want material that was commercially intended for schools, even under fair use, you probably need to pay for it. There's a bounty of wonderful material free out there on the web. There's also a colossal amount of unreliable junk, and subscription services many times are worth it because they have so much good stuff under one roof. Okay, lastly, let's talk about uploading material. Let's say you have some great resources you found on the web. You've used them in your classroom. They're free to use and download for your students. Can you post those same resources back up on your website, the school website, or on your personal website? Usually the answer is no, at least not without permission. When you repost them in a very real sense, you are claiming ownership of them, which the copyright holder probably does not want you to do. Download them for your class, but don't post them back up on the open web. I once visited a school website in a surfing community, and their homepage had Beach Boy music playing, which is not a good idea, not a legal idea, unless you have permission. What you can do within the walls of a classroom is not the same as what you can do on the open web. The web is not an instructional environment. Certainly, it's not a face-to-face instructional environment. But there was an irony in the law. It was an irony born in technology. Section 110(1) of the Copyright Act gave teachers in a face-to-face environment permission to play or show or perform the copyrighted work of others for the purposes of instruction, really in whatever media it came in. This was over and above the provisions of fair use. But what happened when distance learning came into being? What about using the web for the same things teachers were doing in the classroom? Well, that was really prohibited until, in 2002, the TEACH Act passed. The Technology, Education, and Copyright Harmonization Act was passed by Congress and expanded the rights for educators in Section 110(2), which now included and addressed distance learning. Now, there's a lot of detail in that section of the Copyright Act, and those details are on our website. But the most important change for teachers is that now you can upload those same photos, maps, videos, music clips that you legitimately used in the classroom. Students can now access classroom material from home. It's pretty exciting, but there are limitations, and common sense ones, I think. So just listen, here they are. First of all, to be permissible, you have to be working in an accredited nonprofit school. Okay. Also, the material has to be legally acquired, just as it had to be legally acquired in the classroom, which basically means don't use bootleg stuff, don't use stuff you know nobody ever paid the copyright holder for. Also, give your citations, too. And it has to be accessible only to students in the class, which means you probably need to password protect it if you're putting it on the web. Also, it has to be mediated instructional material, and that means material that a teacher would use, would mediate in a class. So this is not material just for extra reading or for extra credit. If it's up there, that can't be copyrighted material. So this is stuff that's used in the class. And 5, it can't be up there forever. When material comes down from the walls of a board or a classroom, it also has to come down from the web. It can't be archived there. Real classrooms have space limitations, unlike some websites. But clean up the web just like you clean up the classroom. Lastly, this can't be material a student would normally buy or would have bought, like a textbook. You can't buy one textbook and just post it on the web for the rest of the class. It can't be something also that's sold for the distance learning market. And lastly, and I hope you have this anyway, the school, the institution, must have a copyright policy and actually be teaching it. There's an example of this all over the web. Here's one specifically. Here's a school district that uses the web a lot. Teachers do post resources in a distance learning way for their students. But it's copyright protected, which means that, and it's mediated, and a student has to have a login to get in to check their work online. So it's complicated to drag laws into the 21st century, but they do come. All right, so that's a quick look at the Internet and the World Wide Web. There's a lot more detail at copyrighteducation.org. Thank you for watching.